Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my latest 2022 NFL preview video. Today, I'm going to break down the Minnesota Vikings. Now, if this is your first time here and you're a football fan, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the growing community of football junkies and fans of all 32 NFL teams. Now, here's how my videos work. I start off with 3 things I like about the Minnesota Vikings, followed by 3 things I don't like. At the end of the video, I break down the schedule, go over the yearly win total odds, and then I reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Minnesota Vikings. So let's start with 3 things I like about the Minnesota Vikings. First thing I like about the Minnesota Vikings is their skill position talent. Now, there's a lot of talk about Justin Jefferson hitting 2,000 yards this year, and hopefully he does. But Adam Thielen's still number 1 wide receiver in his own right. He missed several games due to injury last year, still had 10 receiving touchdowns. Now, last year in the final preseason game, starting tight end Irv Smith Jr. missed the whole season, got injured. It was a big blow. He's coming back. He's a full participant in training camp. It's going to be a boost to an already potent offense. But I really think that this offense really revolves around Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, is a legitimate MVP quarterback, one of just a handful of players that can say that who's not a quarterback. He missed a couple games last year due to injury, but if he plays 15 or more games, he will be in the MVP conversation. The skill position talent goes hand in hand to the second thing I like about the Minnesota Vikings, and that is their offensive line. Last year, the Vikings gave a lot of money to right tackle Brian O'Neill, and then he ended up going to a Pro Bowl. And then in 2019, they used a first-round pick on center Garrett Bradbury, 2020, a second-round pick in guard Urza Cleveland. Last year, they used a first-round pick on left tackle Christian Darrisaw and a third on guard Wyatt Davis. This year in free agency, they signed 2 guards, Chris Reed and Jesse Davis. They drafted Ed Ingram, another guard in the 2nd round, plus Verdian Lowe, a tackle in the 6th round. Bottom line, with this great skill position talent and the money you're paying Kirk Cousins, I'm going to talk about Kirk Cousins here in a little bit. The emphasis the Vikings have made on their offensive line is something I really like. It's something I think that good NFL teams do. The third thing I like about the Minnesota Vikings is the free agent signings on the front 7. Our lads in ESPN have Harrison Phillips, Zardarius Smith, and Jordan Hicks as new starters in the front 7 for the new 3-4 defense Ed Donatella is bringing in from Denver. Now, since Mike Zimmer's been in Minnesota, they've run a 4-3 defense, but the new defensive coordinator who's worked with Vic Fangio while in Chicago and in Denver, and did a first-rate job as defensive coordinator the last 3 years in Denver, is bringing a different scheme. And there is going to be growing pains. You'll hear that about that very soon. But you got 3 veterans that are perfect fits for this new defensive scheme. Not only are they going to be day 1 starters, they're going to help everybody on the team get caught up to speed faster. So when you switch schemes like this, you need different types of players. Minnesota got them in free agency. So just to recap, the 3 things I like about the Minnesota Vikings, the skill position talent, I like their offensive line, and I like their front 7 free agent signings. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Minnesota Vikings. The first thing I don't like about the Minnesota Vikings is the high expectations. You have a new first-time general manager, a new first-time head coach, and not only is it just fans, but a lot of so-called experts have the Minnesota Vikings as a dark horse Super Bowl team, and expectations are for the Minnesota Vikings to make the playoffs this year. When I go over the yearly win total odds, the general betting public is kind of agreeing with that. Normally when you bring in a new front office and coaching staff, the expectations aren't that high, but they are that high in Minnesota, and this goes hand in hand with the second thing I don't like about the Minnesota Vikings, and that is growing pains on defense. Now, I have a huge man crush on Mike Zimmer. He's one of the most well-respected defensive minds in the National Football League. So not only do you have one of the best defensive minds in the league leaving your team, you're switching schemes. So this is just going to take time to adjust and to adapt. Now, I do like Ed Donatell. I think he's an excellent coach, and I like the fact that you're a first-time head coach who was an offensive coordinator. You bring in an experienced defensive coordinator. This is smart. I like the front seven personnel that you're bringing in to help your defensive coordinator change schemes, but there is going to be an adjustment. There are going to be some growing pains. And with the high expectations, Vikings fans do need to realize that this defense isn't going to be good right away. As the season progresses, this defense could get good, but just not right away. Now, the third thing I don't like about the Minnesota Vikings is Kirk Cousins. Now, I really don't like attacking a player like I'm doing right now with Cousins, but I'm making this video after Zimmer released to the media how there was multiple blowups between him and Cousins. And when Cousins was with Washington, I could never figure out why they didn't want him to a long-term deal, and I just kind of blamed that on the Washington organization being inept and a mistake on their part. But he joins a 13-3 Vikings team, and with him as the quarterback, this same 13-3 team almost wins 8 games. The one consistent about Cousins is that he puts up good numbers, but there's really not wins to back it up. You know, per Sportrack, Minnesota is spending more in the 2022 salary cap at the quarterback position than any other NFL team. Is Kirk Cousins worth it? Let me ask you this. Is Kirk Cousins a top 10 quarterback? See, I don't think so. I think he's just outside the top 10. So when the season starts, he's going to be 34. They just signed him to a extension, so he's going to be your quarterback the next 2 years. And with all the skill position talent surrounding him, shouldn't he be elite? He's getting paid elite quarterback money. So when does the quarterback take the blame for not winning? Zimmer took the blame this offseason. He was fired. So with an offensive-minded coaching staff, Cousins really needs to be on the hot seat. Now, if the Vikings don't make the playoffs this year, I really think their first pick in the 2023 draft will be a quarterback. So just to recap the 3 things I don't like about the Minnesota Vikings: the high expectations, you're going to have growing pains on defense, and Kirk Cousins. Now, when I look at the schedule, we're going to look at the schedule. We're going to go over the yearly win total odds, and then I reveal if I'm going to bet on the Minnesota Vikings. So the first thing I like about their schedule is week 7 bye. Normally I don't like an early season bye, but I think it's really beneficial for this Vikings team. And overall, I think this is an extremely favorable schedule. Now, for the first 6 games, throw out the London game. Just ignore the London game for right now. I honestly think that that's really a coin flip. Take Chicago and Detroit as wins, and out of the road games at Philly, Miami, and the home game against Green Bay, can you get one victory out of those 3 games? Because if you can, then I go into the bye at 3-3. Now, Arizona does not have a bye week 7, and you get them coming to Minnesota, so that's a massive advantage. And then I also think you have a very winnable road game at Washington. If you call Buffalo a loss, at this point you're 5-4, entering an extremely favorable stretch. 5 out of your next 6 games are at home. The only road game is at Detroit, and an extremely winnable road game here. So realistically, you might say 4 wins right here. Now, that puts you at week 17 at 9 wins. Now, why is that important? Because the yearly win total odds is 9. And your final 2 games are against divisional opponents. You're at Green Bay, at Chicago. Now, because the last game at Chicago, I actually see 10 wins. Now, there is heavy action currently on the over. Depending on when you watch this video, there's a very good chance that the odds are going to jump up to 9.5. So whether you get 9 or 9.5, you really need 10 to win, and that's kind of what I see here. Now, am I going to put action on the Minnesota Vikings? The answer is no. As a general rule of thumb, I don't like betting on a first-time head coach. I think there's some unknowns. And I'm also going to admit that my man crush on Mike Zimmer has me believing that this team might not be as good as people think year one. But this is my opinion. This is what I think. I really want to hear from you. How will the Minnesota Vikings do in 2022? Drop a comment below. Let's talk football. Is Kirk Cousins a top 10 quarterback? You tell me. Again, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Now, if you haven't already, like the video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't already, what's stopping you? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you can be notified every time I come out with a new video. Tomorrow, I am breaking down the Cleveland Browns, so I will see you tomorrow.